Have you ever thought about how the qualities of healthy relationship can help you in job interview? Sounds strange, right? But there are actually surprising parallels between building strong and healthy relationships and feeling confident and motivated in job interviews. So if you're wondering how to smash the next job interview, stay tuned, because today we're digging into the science and psychology, and we're exploring how you can use all those tricks to nail your next interview and get the job of your dreams. But before we jump into the video, for anyone new here, I'm Justina. I'm an occupational psychologist and empowerment coach, and I'm all about optimization and fulfillment and using science. So the science is on your side. So don't forget to click the like button and subscribe not to miss more videos like this. But let's begin. This year I had almost over 20 job interviews, and at some point I felt like this is my new hobby. I clearly was not good at getting the job I wanted, but I was good at smashing and enjoying the interview and really connecting with my interviewers. And I gathered a lot of compliments about my performance, how I come across as, and that kept me going to more interviews, smashing them more, and finally landing my dream job. And I used to get pretty nervous, especially before interviews and sometimes during. So much to the point that my voice was shaking, and I was shaking with it. And I don't know if that was what my interviewers were seeing, but I could feel that my voice is shaking and it's really not confident at all. And this nervousness was coming from the fact that I thought that I had to be perfect. I need to show the people that I'm meeting all my amazing qualities, all the great sides, and I need to just nail it from the beginning to an end. I need to show them that I'm the perfect candidate for the role. So whatever I was doing is I was replying to every question in a perfect, professional, generic way. But with this amount of interviews within 1 year, I started thinking that this is just not sustainable. I just cannot all the time perform at my best, and I just want to be myself. At some point, I just wanted to just make it more fun, because if I have to show up to all the interviews, and some of the interviews has even multiple stages, each time if I'm going to be so stressed, so nervous, and sometimes not even feeling my best or not feeling like I want to be perfect or that I can be perfect, I need to make it a little bit more sustainable to me. And the best way to make it more sustainable to me is that I actually show up as myself to the interview and have a genuine conversation with my interviewers, show what I'm able to do, but also show a piece of me. So I started experimenting. I was questioning, what if I bring a little bit more of myself and more authenticity into the conversations I'm having, mostly online, because I had a lot of online interviews. Because amongst my friends and my family, I seem really confident, really knowledgeable. When I explain things, I really sound professional. But then in the interviews, of course, because of all the doubts and stress, sometimes we might just not perform at our best, or we might come across as someone who's super lost and just mumbling for no reason. So I decided to try this approach that every time I'm going for an interview, I'm going to be feeling like I'm meeting people that are potentially my new coworkers, or like that they would be my friends, or I would be just having a conversation with human beings that are kind and not necessarily they're testing me, and it's not the matter of life or death whether I'm getting this job or not. And it turned out to be such a great idea, because I was feeling myself and I was performing probably the best, because if they're not going to like me, at least they didn't like me, who I am, and maybe I wouldn't be even able to fit into the culture of the company. But if they liked me for who I am, then well, this is a perfect fit. It sounded like a perfect fit. In psychology, healthy relationships are of course based on trust, respect, and your self-worth. And when we're in relationships, especially romantic ones, and we are secure, we are also more authentic. We don't have to pretend that we are someone who we're not. We don't have to pretend that we're perfect. We're just going to say, I'm looking shit, I'm feeling shit like this today, just accept it. It's just not my day today, and that's fine. And job interviews are no different. It is at the end the conversation between two human beings or more human beings that are going to be potentially maybe your coworkers or maybe your managers or just people from your environment if you get accepted. But at the end of the day, they are still human beings that you're having a conversation with and you're trying to get to know one another. We feel like interview needs to be like interrogation, that you are at the police station and somebody is asking you questions and you need to reply to them and then you just wait for their verdict. But it doesn't have to be this way. A good and a more authentic interview is a conversation. Of course you are being asked questions and you're replying as well, but then you can ask other people questions after your question or after all your questions. So it doesn't feel that only one side is asking questions, but it also shows that you are interested in those people as well, in the company, in the role you're applying for. So it doesn't feel so strict that just one person is interrogated for a whole interview and then you don't really have any control over that conversation, because it's not true. You do have control, and as much as they are choosing potentially you might be deciding whether you even want to or would want to accept this position or not if they gave you an offer. So it works both ways and it is decision for both sides. So take advantage of that and actually bounce the ball back when they ask you a question. Because the more you respect yourself, the more you know your strengths and your self-worth. And the more you approach the conversation like a two-way street rather than just a monologue or interrogation again, the more authentic and the more confident you will come across, and the more likely people are going to notice the real you. And often that personal touch will make it or break it the deal. Most of the time when you're performing even at your best at the interview, some little detail will decide whether you are going to be the chosen one or not. If everyone was perfect and they were doing the greatest professional generic job at the interviews, probably some personal detail will make it or break it. For example, if the interviewer feels like they connected with you on more personal level, perhaps at the beginning of the interview you started talking about the weather or maybe where do you currently live and you connected that you both like Budapest or Spain, or you went there on holidays, or you like colder months or warmer months, or that you both have a kid at the same age. And then if you connect with someone on more personal level, they are more also likely to remember you and to like you because you have something in common. So after 500 different interviews that interviewer had to go through, they are more likely to remember you because they remember you as a human being, not just some random robot AI generated person that was just replying perfectly for each question. Studies even show that the more you feel valued in your relationships or in the conversation, the more you tend to perform better in stressful situations like job interview. And for example, one of the key things that we learn in any healthy relationships is listening and respect. And for example, in interviews, it's so common to just focus on what you're going to say next, listening to the questions and then just making your answer in the head and waiting for your turn until you are able to say it. But just like in any good conversation, it's all about active listening, not just waiting for your turn and just mumbling something afterwards because it's your turn. Responding thoughtfully not only shows that you're actively listening to that person, but also it shows the respect and it makes you feel more at ease. So for instance, when I had my 500 different interviews this year, I was trying to listen to small personal details the person was talking. Whether it was something in their personal or professional life, I was trying to catch up what they prefer, what they like, what they find interesting in the job. And then whenever I had the opportunity to speak, I was trying to refer to that thing that they were talking about. So for example, if my potential future manager would say that he loves traveling and meeting new people, I would in my response refer to that, if it's true of course, that I love meeting people as well and connecting and traveling. So I find it also interesting and exciting that this role includes those activities, and thanks to that you're showing active listening, but also a human connection to an interviewer. And the simple shift makes this interview feel less like a test or interrogation, but more like a human interaction, human conversation, when you're just trying to get to know a little bit more about the company, about the role, and about the people that are currently working in that workplace. And once I promised myself that if I have all those 500 different interviews, I might as well have fun, and I might as well just have meaningful conversations with human beings, and even if I'm not going to get this job, at least I can get to know the people and feel the vibe, and maybe realize what type of people work in certain positions that I'm interested in. My interviews became so much fun. They all were ending with me and my interviewers laughing, joking, and just being super friendly, like we just had a coffee chat, or we just met in cafeteria or had a lunch together, and we were just talking about our roles, experience, about anything. It felt like not a test, not interrogation, but more like a conversation with really inspiring and nice people that it's nice to meet. So how you can take those skills and apply them in your next interview? Here are a few tips that really helped me to shift my perspective. First, you need to understand that it's a two-way conversation. You're a human being, hopefully only human beings watch me rather than AI and robots, but you are a human being, and the people that are interviewing you, as far as I know, they're going to be people as well. And as I mentioned before, as much as they are trying to assess you and really get to know you, so then they can feel whether you're a great fit for the role and the company or not, you are assessing them too. It's not really a test that you are being tested. You're both testing each other. So it doesn't mean that everything is in their power to keep on checking you and assessing you forever. It's more that you can also get to know them and realize and determine whether this place and this company and even the people that are interviewing you is something that you want to go for in a long term. There were times when I had interview and the vibe I was feeling from people really was unpleasant, was really not vibing with me. And even though I liked the job, and of course I didn't get the job anyway, I would be seriously considering whether I would like to join that kind of workplace, because I had mixed feelings, or maybe the communication was not that great, or maybe the communication after interview was not really respectful and not really reliable, because they would tell me that they're going to contact me within 1 week, and they contacted me after 1 month or 2 months, and that was unacceptable for me. In that moment, I just feel and I know that the company is not really serious about people and employees, and even the people that want to join the company, and those people should be the most excited. But if the excitement already disappears before you even get the job, that means that later on it's going to be just downhill. So it's also a test for them whether they can keep you excited and keep you entertained, that you want to grow in this company and you want to perform at your best level. And I know that interviews can be really stressful. Like, trust me, I know that the more you care, the more you want this job, and the more stress you might have before interview, or even during, or even afterwards, or beat yourself up whether you actually perform at your best, or maybe you made some mistake because you couldn't even feel whether your interviewers enjoyed it or not. But people who you're having a conversation with, they are of course human beings, and because they have this same interview multiple times, maybe even the same day, they don't want to preferably hear the same professional generic answers. So answer the questions as well as you can, but put a little bit of yourself into this answer. Ask questions back as well. Try to connect with people on a more personal level rather than just giving them perfect answers. And usually interviewers actually make the first step to try to connect with you on a personal level, especially at the beginning of interview. They might ask you how you are, where you are, how's the weather weather out there, or maybe they will ask you about some fun fact about you, just to shake a little bit of atmosphere, maybe get you out of your automatic robotic mode where you just remember your professional answers, but also to really get to know you, the spontaneous you and the authentic you. So at the beginning, it's actually a great time for a small talk, even if feels awkward at first, but even asking a small question like, how is your day going so far, is a great beginning, because it's not really how are you, where people are just replying fine, thanks, or I'm doing great, but it's more about how is your day going so far, because I know that you have a long day probably, so it's nice to acknowledge that I'm interested in how is your day going. Then you want to come to the interview with a great sense of your strengths. You need to know why you're great at something. You also need to know why you're not great at other things. It's all about being self-aware. But like in any good relationship, you need to know what you're bringing to the table. I don't want people who are entitled watch this video and think like, what do you mean? I'm bringing everything to the table. Like I just show up. The moment I show up, the queen is here. It's not really about that, and I don't really agree with the approach. As long as you're providing a value to the company and to other people, that's the whole essence of work, that you're creating hopefully positive impact and great meaningful value for you and the company, then that makes sense that people would want to work with you, people would want to hire you to the company, and people would want to have you in their lives rather than someone who just shows up, doesn't bring anything to the table, they're not sure about their strengths at all, but they just feel like, what do you mean why I want this job? Because I applied for it, because I need money. So better prepare, remember your strengths and how you can contribute while in the company to the bigger success. And also often, and when you know your worth, when you know how much you can bring to the table, how much of an impact and what impact you can create while in the company, even if you have some weaknesses like lack of experience, it doesn't really matter. But if you can prove and confidently confirm to the company and interviewers what kind of great value you would be bringing when hired, then you're trying to sell them an idea that you need me, and with me we're going to make all the things much greater. So it doesn't matter that I don't have that much experience, I have something more valuable, the vision, the determination, the hunger, the curiosity, the willingness to learn and grow with the company. And most of the time, this is what company wants: a fresh idea, fresh energy, determination, curiosity, learning, wanting to grow and improve, test, experiment, rather than have 40 years of experience that later on will just mean that you're, let's say, burnt out already in a new company and you're not really performing at your best because you just decided to settle. And finally, you want to approach interviews with curiosity. I think you want to approach everything with curiosity. Meeting other people, going somewhere, discovering something, doing something. You want to approach everything with curiosity rather than with your own assumptions or stress that is going to be shit, that is going to be hard, that is going to be bad. And asking questions, it's such a great way to show that you're curious, because it not only shows that you're genuinely interested in another person, in their role in the company, in the company itself, but you're also wanting to build positive relationships and connections with those people, because it feels like you care. And because interviewers are human, they catch it. They can see that you're not there just to get the job and that's it. You're there to get to know them, the company, you truly care, truly already invested, and that what matters, because they want people like that. And if the interviewers feels like you are invested, you are curious, you want to know the answers rather than just assuming and being close-minded, they feel like you respect them. And at the end of the day, they might have a final hiring decision whether to take you to the next step and offer you the job, or whether to move on with someone who they feel more connected with. So remember, the more you embrace yourself, the more you know why you're here, what you're doing, and what you would bring to the table, the more at ease you are also, and the more you're approaching interviews as a two-way conversation. Because trying to be someone else, like someone perfect, it's really exhausting and it's really stressful. And it's really hard as well, especially in a stressful situation. And when I started focusing on just being myself, of course, showing my experience and my education and my willingness to work in a professional matter, but also bringing pieces of me so I can really show who I am, how funny or not funny I am, how ambitious or how not ambitious I am, how driven or not driven I am, everything really shifted. Not only interviews started to be fun, I'm still stressed before interviews. I don't think it will ever change because you care. But whenever I'm talking with people, I genuinely enjoy who I'm talking with. We're laughing at the interview, and later on, the moment you get the job, you feel like you're in heaven because they chose you. They didn't choose you because you had perfect answers. They chose you because you showed them that you do have expertise and knowledge, but they also liked who you are. So later on, when you start working for the company that you decided to work for, you know that they want you on the team, not someone who had perfect answers. But what about you? What do you think about interviews? Are you stressed before interviews? Maybe you found a way how to be super confident, how to be yourself at the job interviews, and you're just smashing it. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below so we can learn from each other. And if this video resonated with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos about how to live your life on your own terms while being yourself. And before you go, remember that, like in all relationships, being authentic, being yourself, not pretending to be someone else, truly matters and really makes a difference. And in job interviews, it can actually make a huge difference because that personal touch, often, especially amongst perfect candidates, will make it or break it. So if you connect with someone on a personal level, if you treat them like the human beings that they are, that they deserve respect and connection, curiosity, and just genuine interest, then sooner or later you will get the job that you absolutely wanted. So good luck with your next interview. You've got this.